Yeah, so good morning. It's just an update on where we are with the RV. We brought the RV back from the mechanic to the storage south of here, about uh, 17 kilometers or so. And we managed to catch two more mice that were in it, but I think that's pretty well solved. The generator, we had spent money to get the hose reconnected to the generator because it had a hole in it. And that was running for a while, and now the generator's quit again. I don't know why. I'm tempted to take the generator to a company that specializes in them and see whether or not this thing has had it, and if so, then maybe we make a change. It's an interesting difficulty because you want to. It's how much money you're going to pour into this thing. When I bought the RV, there were some things that have worked absolutely great, and it's just been super. And the jacks and now the generator especially have just been headaches from beginning to end with no real. The jacks, we finally redid them, and I think we're pretty much figured out with those, but the generator's just been a migraine from the beginning to the end, noisy, and this working and not working and so on. And the sad part is, of course, is that unfortunately a lot of people who buy RVs don't maintain them very well. They drive them. They're not interested in or the expense of, they don't know how to do it or whatever, or preventative maintenance is too much money, we'll fix it when it breaks kind of thing, whatever. When I had my mechanic service the generator originally, it was original spark plugs, original oil, and original air filter after 14, 15 years. So, it's pretty bad. So anyhow, so we'll have to see, but I'm probably going to have whoever it is take it out and put it on the bench and just see what they've got and what they don't have, and clean out the compartment and get rid of the rust and so on, spray paint it and bring it back a bit. The other aspect I would say is we were thinking of going to Myrtle Beach at Christmas. We've canceled that trip. The weather has been very wintry here outside of Toronto, and all the way down into the States as well. And our route would have taken us through West Virginia, which is still pretty wintry anyway. And so we have no interest in driving through that kind of weather. And the other thing is that in Myrtle Beach, at least for the forecast for the time we'd be there, was going to be pretty cool, 8, 9, 10, 12 C, or, in the low 50s Fahrenheit. And so we just weren't sure why we'd spend $1,500 to do that. So we decided to stay home. So those are some things that we're working on right now. Otherwise, I think the vehicle, the switch seems to be working, the power seems to be working, and the internal systems are working as far as I can tell. And the other thing that's new too is I bought an airspeed indicator. This is something I've always been interested in doing, and I know it's decadent, but I did it anyway. So this is an airspeed indicator for an ultralight airplane, and it reads out between 30 and 120 kilometers an hour. So what I'm curious about is to compare the ground speed with the airspeed, because there'll be days when the wind is behind us or in front of us or whatever, and we can go a little faster or a little slower depending on what the wind is doing to us and so forth, to find the optimal speed and for our mileage and what have you. So I'm kind of keen to see that. This will run off of a Venturi tube, so I'll run through the firewall out to the front of the vehicle, but off center, and it'll stick out probably 2 or 3 inches, and hopefully we can see how that goes and do a bit of testing to see what we get with that on calm days where we know that the speed should pretty much agree and so on. So anyhow, that's sort of the arithmetic on that one, I guess. And so I think the main thing right now is now why would the logic of the generator. When you're going south in the States, especially, or in the summertime, it gets pretty warm. I mean, it's 100 plus Fahrenheit or 40 C. It's pretty warm, and you have dash air, which works, but not enough to cool the unit, and the unit can be pretty hot. And so to run at least one roof air conditioner when you're driving is kind of a nice thing to be able to do, and also to run, if you ever get stuck somewhere, you always have a generator. It's pretty nice to have. I mean, you can it can improve the quality of your life, or certainly, or may even save it. So I'm just of the opinion that I'd like to have the system working. But this is going to be $2,000 or $3,000 at a minimum, I would think, whether we replace it or fix it or whatever we're going to do. And my guess is we're probably going to be replacing it. But it's a question of what will fit in the compartment and all the rest of the nonsense. So we'll have to see what these fellows have to say when we get to the other end. If nothing changes, I'm probably we'll keep this RV until we retire. It's about 4.5 years or so, and then the idea would be to get a new one, or a newer one. So we may have it for 4 or 5 years or so yet, depending on when we actually decide what to do. And if we're going to do that, then that's a big change. So we'll have to see. But so that 5 years is still a fair long time, and I certainly would like to have a generator that is quiet, that will work as advertised, and all the rest of it. So that's sort of where we're headed right now, and that's kind of the end of 2017. This year we had 41 nights in the vehicle, so 4 people who work for a living. That's not too bad. We had nights here and there, and of course when I went away to Ohio and Illinois and Indiana and so forth, those trips were nice. I had planned to go to Hershey to the big RV show, but I got sick and I had to cancel that trip. And we had a few other trips we thought of in the fall that for one reason or another didn't go. So it's been a little restricted, and we probably would have had more like 50 nights or so. And I kind of want to have certainly 30 to 40 as a minimum. Otherwise, what's the point of having it? I just don't understand the folks who have these things and you use it for 10 days of the year. I mean, there's just so much money involved. I mean, you get a tent, but I think I think it's like a cottage, and if you are going to go to your cottage, say 2 weekends out of the month for 4 months, that's there's 16 or so days and a couple of 2 or 3 weeks of holidays and so forth. It gets you up into that range, and that's sort of the way I see the RV as well. And so we've enjoyed it so far well, but I'd say this year has been a really heavy one on maintenance. We spent almost $10,000 on the RV, and the primary, probably more like about $12,500, because I did some repairs of my own as well. I have to slow that down a bit next year, I think. But we fixed the back end of the transmission. We redid the leveling jacks. And the 2 primary things. We dropped the tank, we thought, to fix the generator, but obviously that's not enough. And what was the other thing we did that was expensive? I can't remember now. But anyhow, oh yes, we had to do the brakes. So it adds up a lot with these different things that you're doing with these things. So this is the way it goes. Anyhow, hopefully 2008 is a good year for you and your family, and also for us in the sense of our traveling. If I was to sit back right now and look at the year where it's going, I want to steal as much time as I can with it. We used to do a bit of winter camping. I'm always a little reluctant right now. I don't want to break anything in the thing, but we can't live like that either. So I have to see. I try to keep the temperatures above minus 20 C outside. Otherwise, I find you could be in trouble. And I would certainly want electric power. There's of course substantial limits to camps that you can visit in Ontario. In the case of Ontario, we're pretty much going. There's a couple of commercial sites, and then there's the Algonquin Park Mule Lake Campground, which has power all year, which is, and that's a 30 amp, but that's more than enough to do what we're doing because we're not running air conditioners and so forth. I'd like to go to Harper's Ferry, more West Virginia. I've been there once before, but I want to stay there for 10 days and hike the trails and ride my bike on the C&O tow path, and then go into DC for a day or maybe even 2 days or whatever, and just experience the area. I'd like to do that, so I'm probably tempted to go that direction next year. And we'll see. I want to get out to the western parks. I just don't know whether or not I want to do that with this RV or do it when I'm older, but hiking at altitude and all the rest of the western parks represent, as you get older, you know, if your health declines, you know, that can make it very difficult to experience the parks the way you want to. But one of my things I've been doing is to camp, go to a park and stay there for, or an in-region or whatever, for, you know, a week, 2 weeks, whatever it's going to be, and really look it over, and then I can move on. I'm not going to, after waiting to go to, say, Yellowstone for 30 years, I'm not going to go there for 3 days. You know, if I go there, I'm going to go there for a month or something and really soak it up. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Anyhow, enjoy the season, and we'll talk to you later.